Hey friends, it's Cherie, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some elegant yet comfortable garments that I sewed up in the last couple of weeks. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a returning person, thank you so much for your continued support. All right, let's get into it. This video is in collaboration with Cosy Island. Cosy Island is a shoe brand that believes that you shouldn't have to sacrifice style for comfort. They sent me 3 pairs of shoes to style with the garments that I sewed for this video. What I love about Cosy Island is that they have cracked the code on creating a fabric that literally molds to your feet. They've taken that fabric and they've paired it with tech-driven midsoles for flexible support and cushioning, which boosts breathability and reduces foot fatigue. Every pair of shoes that they have designed focuses on the balance between elegance and comfort. First 2 pairs of shoes that they sent me are called the Graceless Pointed Toe Low-Heeled Mule. They sent me 2 colors, leopard and black. They are a slip-on design with a rubber sole. They come in 2 different heel lengths as well as 2 different widths. You can do the standard or the wide. These shoes are crafted from the airweave fabric, which has 3D air holes that enhance breathability while allowing 20% stretch. They have arch support and contour cushioning. They offer many different colors in this style. The 3rd pair of shoes that they sent me are called the Everlush Bow Knot Pointed Toe Heeled Slingback in the low heeled design in the color Apricot, which is a beautiful nude shade. They offer this style in a standard heel, which is 3.35 inches, and a low heel, which is 2.56 inches. This style comes in 4 different colorways, and just like the Graceless, these shoes have the air weave fabric and anti-slip rubber soles. They feature a bow knot detail that is very feminine. If you're interested in these shoes, please click the link in the description section of this video and use my discount code to save yourself some money on your purchase. Let's get to the styling of this video. Thank you, Cosy Island. First things first, I want to apologize for my very long absence from YouTube. It has been very hard for me to find time to film. Life has just been so busy, but I'm back and I have been sewing, so my next couple of videos are already planned out, and I do have some new sewing makes that I will be sharing with you beyond just this video, but also in the coming weeks, so please stick with me. For this video, I wanted to share with you some garments that I sewed to create a more elegant yet comfortable wardrobe. And now, while elegance is definitely in the eye of the beholder, I definitely look at the word elegant as something that makes me feel beautiful and put together, something that's classy and classic. And it's very difficult for me to wear things like this for work because, if you're new to my channel, you don't know this, I actually work with children and young children at that. So anything that I wear for work definitely has to be something that can get a little dirty, that isn't too precious, and that is very comfortable. So finding the opportunities to wear elegant things has been very hard for me in my profession. But I wanted to try to think about some of the fabrics that I have in my stash that I've been hoarding. And part of the reason why I hoard a lot of my fabrics is because they are so precious. They are so beautiful. Some of them were very expensive when I purchased them. And I've always wanted to just make the perfect garment using those fabrics. And while that is something that is very important, I definitely had a fear of wasting my fabric, and so I wasn't sewing them up because I didn't want to sew up a garment and then never have a place to wear it. So I have decided that moving forward, I am going to stop hoarding my fabrics and I'm just going to sew them up, and I'm going to wear them in the lifestyle that I have right now. So I did learn a lesson with one of the garments that I made because the fabric that I use is a bit too precious, but I want to wear pretty things now, and if I'm going to wear these pretty things, I just have to get over the fact that they will get dirty, and I will have to be extra careful with how I care for them after wearing them and how I treat stains and things of that nature. And I definitely want to sew up some really beautiful aprons that I can tie over my clothes when I'm working with the children to prevent getting art supplies on my clothes or to prevent getting boogers. and things like that on my clothes, food. So I definitely want to sew up my beautiful fabrics and feel more elegant and put together at work, less frumpy. I definitely feel like when I dress up and I wear things that are a bit more elegant, I feel better about myself, and my confidence is definitely much higher. I want to point out that this is a holiday weekend. My entire family is home, so you may hear a few noises in the background. Please do forgive any background noise. But with all that being said, I want to share with you the things that I sewed up. Now, I really wanted to be able to sew up garments that could be worn for work, but also worn outside of the home. I wanted to make garments that would pair nicely with sneakers and sandals, but also that I could dress up with very comfortable heels. Now, I am in a stage in my life, I'm in my mid-40s, where I do not enjoy wearing high heels. I just don't. And so if I'm going to wear a heel, it has to be a low heel and it has to be comfortable, something that I can wear for hours. I have very flat feet, and when you have flat feet and you don't have an arch, you have a tendency to get like spasms on the inner part of your foot where an arch should be. And that has been happening to me more and more as I get older. And also I'm on my feet a lot. So it's really important for me to have shoes that are super comfortable. So all of the looks are going to be looks that can be paired with sneakers or really comfortable high heels. Another thing that I want to point out is that I wanted to have relatively easy sewing projects, relatively comfortable, easy things to wear. So there are no zippers and there are no buttons or anything like that in the outfits and garments that I'm going to be sharing with you. They are elastic projects. And the good thing about that is that they are relatively easy projects for a beginner to sew. So if you're new to sewing, hopefully you will give one of these patterns or maybe all of them a chance. And you will definitely invest your time and money in creating these projects versus some that may be a bit more intimidating. I know in the beginning of my sewing journey, I didn't limit myself to, easy fabrics, or I didn't prevent myself from exploring with zippers and things of that nature, but there was a bit of frustration that came with that. I do believe it made me a better sewist in the long run, but I know that if I had relied more on projects like the ones that I'm going to be sharing with you today, I probably would have seen more success in the beginning stages of my sewing journey. So I just wanted to point that out. So if you're looking for something that's super complicated to make, something that is more on the advanced level, these projects are not going to be for you. These are definitely those projects that, girl, I need a skirt in 2 hours to go to an event. Like you could whip this up really quick. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. And then the last thing that I want to say is that some of these fabrics I have literally had in my stash for a couple of years. And I'm really excited to have finally cut into them. And I can actually replace them in my fabric stash with something else. I have a huge stack of fabrics that I literally have no room to put anywhere, and I've had them for a while. These are not new fabrics, and I have sewing plans galore for everything, but not enough time. And I'm tired of looking at these fabrics that are folded neatly in the corner of this room. And so by sewing up these projects, I'm able to now move 3 cuts of fabric into the storage cube that I originally had these fabrics in. So I'm proud of myself for that. As you saw at the beginning of this video is in collaboration with Cosy Island. This is my second time partnering with them. They do have the most beautiful, comfortable shoes that I've tried so far, and I've been very fortunate to be able to work with them. So with each outfit, I will be sharing a pair of their shoes. I've already talked about the shoes in the intro of the video, but I will be inserting a close-up view of what these shoes look like on my feet. The first pattern that I sewed up is the Staystitch Coco bias skirt. I will insert pictures so that you can see what this looks like close up. I did snag pictures from their Etsy shop, so they are pictures of actual models wearing the skirts. But basically, this is a bias cut skirt, and it comes in 2 different lengths. You can have the mini length or you can have the midi length. I chose to make the midi length because I do like a long skirt. This also has an elastic waistband, and for this waistband you need 2-inch elastic. Now that is something I did not have in my stash. What I had was 1.5 inch, and then I had 3/4 of an inch elastic. So I kind of did a hack, which doesn't look super pretty on the inside of the skirt, but you really can't tell on the outside of the skirt, and that's what matters. When you make your own clothes, you can do things like this, okay? For this skirt, obviously, with most of my projects, I strive for perfection, but with this skirt, I just really wanted to wear it, and I wasn't pressed to have perfect insides with regards to my elastic. So I combined those two different widths of elastic to create a 2-inch elastic band to put on the inside of this skirt. Would I do that again in the future? Probably not. I think it definitely looks better if you just use what the instructions tell you to use, but in a pinch, I don't think it was such a bad thing. And honestly, the skirt looks great. I've washed it twice because I've worn it, and it's fine. It did not change how the skirt wears or anything, and you'll see that in the video. So this skirt is to be made out of flowy fabrics, and it has a very nice shape to it. When you make a bias cut skirt, it automatically gives it a really nice drapey effect. It skims the hips and fits really nicely on the body, which I think is so nice. One of the things I love about this pattern is that it is finished with French seams. French seams are just such a very classy way to finish your projects. I love a good serger project because it makes the process quicker. However, I will say with French seams, the insides just look so much cleaner and they look more professional. And so when you're using a satin fabric like what I use, or you're using a silk or any fabric that's delicate, can shred easy, or will fray easily, it's really nice to have those seams enclosed. And when you do French seams, that's exactly what's happening. Your raw edges are actually enclosed and they're wrapped really nicely within the fabric, and it just has such a beautiful finish. So that is the longest part of the sewing process, in my opinion, is doing the French seams. But really, this pattern is just one pattern piece for the front and the back. So it's not like you're doing a ton of French seams. So if you're gonna do French seams for the first time, this is probably going to be the best project to try out French seams on, a skirt like this. So I definitely did the French seams. Now my fabric was a thicker bridal satin, and I will say that in the future, should I make this skirt again out of a bridal fabric, I'd probably use my serger versus the French seams, only because my satin is actually really thick. And so when I did the French seams and then I pressed them, I still felt like it kind of changed the smoothness of the side seam of my skirt while I was wearing it. Now I pressed it really well on the inside and the outside, and I did notice while wearing it, after I looked at the footage later, that the side seams don't lay quite as smooth as I would love them to lay. And I know it's because even though I trimmed a lot of that seam allowance before I did my French seams, having that bulky French seam on the inside, it just wasn't laying as flat as I needed it to look in order for those seams to lay down really nicely. And as a matter of fact, I do have a satin skirt that I wear quite often, and it's beautiful. It's from Banana Republic. It does not have French seams. It is finished with a serger, and it lays much nicer on the inside. Now, if you will have a lighter, thinner, floatier fabric, then definitely do the French seams, and they should lay really smoothly. You should be able to press it really nicely flat. But that's just an observation that I had using the fabric that I had on hand. Now, the skirt is also finished with a very narrow hem. I have seen other people use some really cool techniques to create a perfect hem. However, I just did a little scant Staystitch, 1/8 inch along the bottom of the skirt, and I used that as my pressing line so that I could press up twice and then pin it, and then I stitched that down instead of doing anything that's more complicated. It did take more time to do that, but I felt like it is something that I was familiar with. It was quick in the sense that I didn't have to try to figure out a new technique. And really for these projects, because I didn't have a lot of time to sew, I wanted to just rely on what I knew to get the project done. It looks very pretty, and I'm happy that I finished it that way. All in all, I really enjoyed this pattern. This is a very good beginner pattern, and I definitely want to give it a try again. I personally think that in future versions, I might try a rayon challis or something that's a little bit thinner and flowier. I might even try this with a silk, if I can get my hands on some affordable silk, that is, because I know that it would just feel so nice on the body. And I love the skirt because I definitely think that while it is elegant, it can be dressed down with my t-shirt being pulled out and with some sneakers. Now for this particular skirt, I chose to use a bridal satin from Fabric Wholesale Direct, and it is a really beautiful burgundy shade. And I paired this with one of my favorite t-shirts. It is the Uniqlo crew neck t-shirt. I still haven't found the perfect t-shirt pattern for myself. I do really enjoy a t-shirt pattern by, I don't remember her name. Naomi. I'll put her name on the screen if it comes back to me. But I sewed up a t-shirt pattern that I think is pretty good, and I wear that particular t-shirt all the time. I only made one. But I absolutely love the quality of the cotton of the Uniqlo t-shirts, the crew neck t-shirts specifically. I personally have that t-shirt in several different colors. I just find that it fits really nicely in my shoulders and it grazes my body really nicely. I wear a size large, even though the size gauge on their website says that I should be in a medium. And I do that because I like to have a little extra room in my bust. Anyways, this cotton fabric that they use is unmatched. I've washed these t-shirts several times. They never stretch out. They are thick and plushy. They're not thin and flimsy. They don't lose their shape, and they're just perfect. So I pair those with both skirts and jumpsuits and pants. They go with everything, and the color never fades. So I really just love the quality of the t-shirt. Enough about that t-shirt. I elevated this outfit by adding gold jewelry as well as carrying my Tory Burch purse that has gold accents on it. It is a black purse. I love it. It has a chevron print. It's very beautiful. And I paired that with my Cosy Island Gracelith black mules, and they just look so good. They feel so comfortable. And while this outfit can be worn with sneakers, I definitely think these comfortable mules definitely check off all the boxes for me. I can move from side to side and walk back and forth without feeling like my foot's gonna slide out. I feel very comfortable and secure while wearing these shoes. And I just think it is a beautiful pairing. Now the second garment that I made is definitely going to be more of a beginner intermediate pattern. And the reason why I say that is because while it is an elasticated waist pair of pants, this is the Padget pleated shorts and trousers by Petite Stitchery. It has some really beautiful details about it that will cause you to have to really pay attention and be cautious and careful while you're making them. The feature in particular that I'm talking about is going to be these beautiful pleats on the front of the pants. Now this particular pair of pants comes in shorts. It comes in a flood length, which basically goes, I want to say, a little bit longer than mid-calf. I could be wrong about that. I did not make that pair. And then it has the traditional full length on the pant. And it has these beautiful pleats on the front. These pants definitely look more elevated than your traditional knit pair of pants. I felt as though I was wearing something that was very professional, even though I was very comfortable. They definitely scream secret sweatpants. And I think in the description for the website, they even said that these are like secret pajamas. I guess it just depends on the fabric that you use. I personally chose to use a scuba knit. This project actually came in one of my Indie Stitch subscription boxes. So the pattern as well as the scuba knit came together. And I think that while the fabric is super comfortable, super pretty, and perfect for this pattern, I personally struggled a bit with it. So for me, there isn't one sewing project that I've made where I didn't have at least one oopsie or one little area that I had to unpick. And I prefer a fabric that I can easily unpick. And I found my scuba knit that I selected to use for this project that came in my kit to be a little bit delicate, okay? So I went to unpick something and easily pulled a fiber of the fabric. So there was a couple fuzzy areas where it was accidentally snagged when I was unpicking, and I was being very slow and cautious while unpicking too. So that was a little frustrating. Also, I felt as though it was a bit shifty. So when you do these, and this is why I said this is more of an intermediate beginner sewing project, is that it has these beautiful pleats, and when you pin your pleats down, you really need them to stay in place. And I felt like just from the jostling of moving it from the cutting table to the sewing machine with the pins, somehow things shifted a bit and I had to unpick some of my pleats on one side, and that was super frustrating. And so it was definitely not an issue that I've had using Ponte, so I was a little frustrated with that. But definitely the scuba knit does give Ponte vibes. I will say this about the scuba knit that I used is that I appreciate that it could be ironed, whereas a lot of the Pontes that I've sewn in the past, they were not iron friendly. But the scuba knit I could iron on a pretty decent heat setting. But the pattern itself is really straightforward, very easy in the sense that if you follow the directions, then you will have a beautiful finished project. It has really good pictures for each of the steps in the sewing process, which is really great. And it definitely gives you some instructions on how to increase and decrease the crotch length of the pants, which I think is really nice because I often have to adjust the crotch length. Now for this pair, I didn't, I left it the way it was. And I do like the way that it fits on my body. So I will sew this project up again because I think that these pants just feel amazing. I think they look really nice. They definitely look really put together, and to me, paired with the right top or paired with the right shoes, can give off elegant but comfortable. So I love that I chose to finally sew this up. I've had this in my stash, I think, for a year, and I'm so pleased that I definitely sewed it up, and I want to make more in the future. But again, I think in the future I will use a Ponte. I wouldn't use anything like a t-shirt jersey or anything like that. The reason why is I just kind of feel as though you will lose some of the pleating details and it won't look quite as nice. So definitely lean more towards scuba knit Ponte, a thicker, plushier knit. If you are making the shorts, you could definitely think about maybe a French terry or something like that, but this is a really good pattern and I really enjoyed sewing up that project. If it wasn't for my fabric giving me a hard time, I would have been able to sew that project up really quickly. Another thing that I love about this pattern is that it has a faux fly and it has slant pockets. Now, I can't have pants without pockets, so it having a pocket definitely elevated the pattern for me. There was another pattern in my stash that I considered sewing up and it does not have pockets, but it also has that pleating detail, and I just thought that was really strange. But I think it's because with knit fabrics, they can get weighed down when you put things in the pockets, so I imagine that that's why that pattern doesn't have pockets. But yes, between the faux button fly and the nice pockets, it definitely elevates this pattern. Also, there are optional belt loops that you can decide to put on at the end. I did put the belt loops on, but I think in future versions, because it has an elasticated waist and it's gonna fit really snugly based off of how you tighten your elastic for comfort, I don't think they're necessary. But I do enjoy styling with belts, and so that is why I went ahead and added the belt loops on my version. I chose to pair these pants with another Uniqlo t-shirt, and this one is a cream tan shade. It definitely is leaning more cream than it is like a khaki. So I love this t-shirt. I just feel like because of the color, it elevates anything. And I've worn this t-shirt with so many different things in my wardrobe. And again, here I am talking about these amazing t-shirts again. Please forgive me, I just love them so much. But I thought it looked really nice with these trousers. It definitely gives a good balance between comfortable and elegant and put together. I paired it with my Cezanne belt. And I also wanted to wear a nice handbag with this outfit as well. So I chose to pair it with my Coach Cassie 19. It's a cream colored Coach, and I think that that looks really nice. And the shoes that I matched it with are the Gray Slith mules in the leopard print. I love these leopard print shoes because I just feel like they're very versatile. While they match my outfit, I could actually use them with a solid colored dress that is a completely different color than the colors that are in the shoes, because I feel like leopard is a neutral. It goes with everything. And so I really just love how these shoes have elevated the outfit even more. This outfit is definitely one of those outfits that is secret loungewear, because everything about it is soft. Everything about it is cozy. But with the accents of the belt, the shoes, and my jewelry, I elevated it so much and I just felt so put together. So this project was definitely a success and has elevated my wardrobe for work. The last project that I sewed up is the Mila Onni Patterns Liliana dress, and I love this dress. It is really fantastic. It comes in 4 different views. This is another pattern that I had been wanting to sew for quite a while, but didn't own it. And I saw someone else on Instagram who had sewn it up, and I was like, wow, that's really pretty. I absolutely have to go for it. And actually, I had shown you guys a video months back of a dress that was red, and it's a doe-in dress. And this pattern looks so much like that dress that I definitely want to try to recreate that look with this pattern now that I have tested the pattern out. I don't have enough red fabric in my stash to sew that dress up, but it is something that I want to reward myself with in the future. And so what I love about this dress is that, again, there's no zippers and there's no buttons. It has an elasticated neckline, waist, and wrist cuffs. So it's definitely one of those dresses that can grow with you. You know, I made the perfect size for my body now, but you know, bodies change and they fluctuate. This is a dress that will fluctuate with you. One of the things that I love about this dress too is that it comes in bust cup sizes. And I find that especially with elasticated waistline or neckline dresses, people do not do bust cups because they assume that, you know, because it's elastic, it can stretch and fit everyone. But when you are creating channels to define a waist, you lose some of the distance at the top of the dress. I hope that makes sense. And so I have found that sometimes that elastic either stops right at my bra line, or I have to pull it down low so it doesn't fit the way it looks on the model, because I'm showing more cleavage to make sure that my breasts fit in the dress. So with this, I didn't have to worry about that at all, and I truly appreciate it. I know that there have been like certain patterns like t-shirts and things of that nature that I'm like, why would you need bust cups for this or that? And the more I sew, the more I realize how important it is, even for stretchy things and knit things and things with elastic, to also have bust cup sizes. So this dress does have that, and I think that's a fantastic feature. It has 3 different groupings for the bust cups. There's the AB cup, the CD cup, and the EF cup. And yeah, it's just such a great pattern, and it's so inclusive. The size range is really inclusive for this one as well. This dress comes in 2 different views. You have the blouse, which is the hip length, and then you have the midi length, which is what I made, which is the full length dress. It also comes in 3 different sleeve options. You have the short sleeve, the elbow sleeve, and the long sleeve. I did the long sleeve because I knew I would be sewing it out of a very floaty fabric that is cool to the touch, and where I live, it is not super warm. So I love the fabric that I chose though, because it is a fabric that I can wear all year round. All I have to do is top the dress with a sweater, put some tights underneath, and I can still wear it through the fall and winter. So definitely a very versatile dress. You can choose lots of different fabrics, but the pattern is actually suitable for lightweight fabrics that are floaty. So think cotton voile, cotton lawn, things of that nature. Now, the stiffer your cotton or thicker your cotton, the more pronounced the puffs will be in the sleeves, and also where the channels of elastic bunch, it'll be more bunchy. I don't know how to explain that, but it looks a little less floaty when you use a heavier cotton fabric to make this dress. But if you are looking at a cotton voile, cotton lawn, or rayon challis like what I used, it's going to have a very floaty, drapey look. And I love that. The size range on this dress is a 0 to 30, which I think is fantastic. I also failed to mention that with the pants, it is a size range of extra small to 5X, and with the skirt, I believe it was a 0 to 34. I love recommending patterns to you all that are very inclusive so that all my friends can try them out. So I really appreciate that. This is a level 2 on the front of the pattern. So it is an advanced beginner pattern. And the only reason why I would say advanced beginner is because you do have to have patience, and there are a lot of steps in this project. The pieces are very large. You don't have a lot of pattern pieces, but the pieces are very large, and you do have to do things in order to shrink them up, and that take time. So for instance, with the waistband, you have 2 rows of elastic, and you have to create channels to basically feed the elastic through. And you can do that using bias tape. Now, I chose to use pre-made bias tape that I had in my stash versus making my own bias tape. But if you want to have a beautiful finish, you can switch up your bias tape so that it's a different fabric than your exterior of your dress, and you can actually sew the rows of bias tape on the outside of your dress. I chose to sew mine on the inside, so it's completely hidden and you can't see it. And I chose just a basic cream that was in my stash. So once you've sewn down the bias tape, you have to feed the elastic through. And that is a bit more challenging because, you know, it's just a lot of steps. You can do it. It's not super hard. It's just more steps. So I think that might be why this is in a intermediate beginner type of pattern. The other thing is that the pieces, like I mentioned before, are really large. So for the neckline, it's going to look like a big sack before you add the elastic in the neckline. One of the things I like about this is that there is elastic, but on each end of that strip of elastic, you basically sew on a strap that you create from your main fabric. This project was easy, but it was time consuming because of the bias tape that you have to add for the elastic channels and also attaching the neckline and ruffle at the neck. So I did break this up over 2 days in a weekend to get it done. And I think it's a lovely sewing project, and I definitely want to sew it up again. I think in my next version, I might try the elbow length sleeve as well as adding a 3rd row of elastic, because I did find that the distance between the 2 waistband elastics was so spread apart that there was a big section in the middle that just bunches a bit strange for me on the body. So I think I'd like to add a 3rd row of elastic in the middle to give it more cinching and less fabric that's loose in the middle. That's just a personal preference. I did see someone on YouTube that used shirring method with the sewing machine. So basically elastic thread that they sewed onto the dress, and you can do that as well. But I think that for a beginner, this is much easier. You're gonna have less issues with like figuring out how to use that stretchy elastic in your sewing machine. I have 2 sewing machines. Now, I used to be able to shirr a ton with my Singer Heavy Duty, but once I started sewing more with my Brother machine, it struggles, and honestly, it just never sewed very nicely. So I don't do shirring on that machine, and that's the one that I primarily sew on. So I will continue to use the channels of elastic, but I have seen really beautiful, successful versions where people used shirring and elastic thread for the shirring. So anyway, I definitely recommend this pattern. I definitely plan on making several versions of this pattern. It is super lovely. I chose to make it out of a beautiful yellow rayon challis that I've had in my stash for a long time. I believe it was a designer dead stock fabric that I got from LA Finch Fabric. And it was like one of their Into the Bolt sales. And it was 4 yards, and I had been stocking that fabric. So when I saw that it had been added to the Into the Bolt sale, I scooped it up. Now this fabric was originally pretty expensive, and I want to say that I only had to pay like 20 bucks for 4 yards, and it's actually very wide. It's 60 inches wide. It's beautiful. I love wearing yellow. Now, I will be honest, a lot of my footage isn't super crisp because I usually like to film outside and take all my pictures outside. But when I was filming, we actually had some fencers here, and they were replacing a lot of our fences, and they had their, you know, wooden planks, and all their equipment was just kind of everywhere. It was loud. And every now and then when I thought that I was in a safe spot to film, a worker would walk by behind me. And so I had to delete so much footage. And one of the things I had to delete was modeling the dress outside. So the modeling portion of the video was filmed inside my home, and for the times when I could find a spot to take my pictures like I normally do outside, I took pictures outside. But for this dress, there was just nowhere for me to take my pictures, so I had to take them inside. That being said, you can't see how beautifully vibrant the yellow is in the dress. I feel like it's toned down because of the cream walls and the white furniture in this room. So when I film next, I'm gonna try to remember to wear the dress so that you can see how beautiful the fabric is. But it's just so swishy and lovely. You'll be able to see how it moves in the video. But also the color is super vibrant. Now it is more of a yellow mustard than it is like a yellow sunshine, but it's perfect. I love it so much, and I definitely plan to pair this with my beautiful, beautiful cardigan that I got from Christy Dawn. Such a beautiful cardigan. So next time you see me, I might be wearing those two things together. I paired this dress with my Cezanne suede bucket bag, which I'm obsessed with. I got that for my birthday in November, and I've been wearing it nonstop ever since. The only time I can't wear it is if I think I'm gonna get dirty or it rains. But anyway, it's a great bag. If you haven't seen that bag, you should check it out. And I also paired it with my gold jewelry as well as my Cosy Island Everlush bow knot heels. These are probably the most comfortable heels that I own, and they're my favorite of the 3 pairs that they sent me. I like them because I just think that bow tie or bow knot feature is just so unique and beautiful. I love the shade. It is called apricot, but it definitely is more on the nude side, and I am a brown woman, so when I find a good nude that complements my skin tone, it gets me very excited. So I definitely will be wearing these a lot in my wardrobe. And I love the way this dress turned out. I definitely plan on wearing it a ton. Again, it is elegant, but it is cozy and comfortable, and that's exactly what I need. I really, really enjoyed making and wearing all of the things that I've made, and I think that they're going to pair so nicely with other items in my closet. So I'm really thrilled about how nicely it's just gonna elevate my wardrobe even more. And so this is just a note to self. If you are in a profession where you do not get to dress up often because you might get dirty, take a chance, okay? Try to find things that are comfortable but also can be elevated, and just wear the things, okay? Life is too short, and I'm finding that the longer I stay in this profession, the more I'm realizing that I can't just wait to wear the pretty things. I need to wear the pretty things now and just launder them well. You know, take care of them once they've been created. And so that's what I'm gonna do moving forward. So get ready to see more elegant yet comfortable looks from me in the future. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't already checked out Cosy Island, click the link in the information section and check out all the beautiful shoes that they have to offer. I hope you have a fantastic day and a wonderful week. Talk to you soon. Bye.